Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our What's New in MWF webinar, Part 2. My name's Tim Grimm, and I'm Customer Success Manager for Struxoff Solutions. Today, I'm happy to share some of our new features with you. For those of you who are new to our products, MWF, or Metalwood Framer, is our automated Revit framing software for walls, floors, ceilings, and trusses, for both light gauge steel and wood. If you're unfamiliar with MWF, after the webinar, we encourage you to go online to struxoffsolutions.com to check out our offerings. You may also reach out to us to schedule a one-on-one demonstration. One of our technicians will be happy to show you how MWF can be used to benefit your projects. This is the second in a series of webinars to cover the new features in our latest release, version 2.36, build 7096. This release includes 24 new features. Today I'll cover several. Subsequently, we'll schedule additional webinars to cover more of the new features, so stay tuned. Today I'll cover creating strapping for MEP clash holes in top and bottom tracks, creating opening strapping and blocking, creating lifting holes with clips, generating shop drawing labels, regenerating floor hole series without regenerating panels, and lastly, I'll introduce our new online help center. In addition to the new features, this version of MWF is also the first to support Revit 2020 and will be the last to support Revit 2017. Before we start, I'd like to mention a couple of housekeeping items. Firstly, anyone who registered for the webinar will automatically be sent a recording of the session. Secondly, you may ask questions throughout the webinar in the Questions tab of the GoToMeeting dashboard. While I'll personally not be taking any questions during the session, our technical and sales staff are standing by to answer your questions and will do so through the GoToMeeting dashboard. Any questions that we don't get to during the session, I'll personally respond to afterwards. Now, let's get to the heart of the presentation. Today I'll be using a single unit residential model. It has been framed. And these are the areas of the model I'll be working in today. First, I'm going to start with creating strapping for MEP clash holes in top and bottom tracks. So here I have a wall panel with several pipes, 3 that are large diameter and 2 that are small diameter. I'm going to go over to a 3D view that I have prepared for this purpose. Now, first I'll show how MWF has worked up to this point, and then I'll show the new feature. So if I hover over this bottom track, you'll see that there are no holes presently punched through that for the MEP pipes. I'm going to select that member. It can be any member of the panel or the wall. I'm going to go to Interference, MEP Clash, and I have a clash operation prepared called Pipes. I'll click OK. MWF will report back that 8 holes were punched. And if I hover over that bottom track now, you can see those holes that were punched in the bottom track. They were punched in the top track as well for the 3 pipes that extend up through there. Now, what's new is if I go to Interference, MEP Clash Hole Series Mapping, I'm going to uncheck all of these and just check on piping, because that's all I'm worried about presently. You can see that I have my different diameter piping and different piping types over here, and I have them mapped to corresponding holes that are being punched in the framing. What's new is up here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a Place Straps checkbox, which I'll check on. We have to select a straps family. I'm using one called CS 14 gauge. There's a length setting. Now this is the length from the center of pipe. So this is going to be 7.5 inches to either side. There's also a tolerance setting, and any pipe that encroaches within this tolerance to the framing edge will receive a strap. Any pipes that don't encroach within that tolerance will not. So in my example, these 3 large diameter pipes are going to receive straps. The 2 smaller diameter pipes will not, but that is controlled by the tolerance setting. So again, place straps is enabled. I'll click OK. First, I'm going to remove these existing holes. And then I'm going to run the clash again. Reports that 8 holes were punched. But additionally this time, I also have straps. Notice that I don't have them for the small diameter. I do have them for the large diameter. They're also on the top, and they're on this side of the framing and the opposite side as well. Notice over here to the left where I have 2 large diameter pipes that are close to each other. Rather than getting 2 straps that overlap, there's a single strap here. Now, if I select this strap and right-click and choose Select All Instances Visible in View, Revit reports that there are 8 objects selected. So that's 2 on this side, 2 on the opposite side. So that's 4 for the bottom track and 4 for the top track for a total of 8. Now, what I'm going to show you is if I move this pipe far enough away, then I'll get an individual strap for this pipe. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan. Make sure I'm selecting the pipe. I'm going to move it from near this stud to near this stud. I'll go back to my 3D view. Again, first I'm going to remove the existing holes. And then I'll run the clash again. Now you can see that I have 2 straps where there was 1 previously. I can also select one of these, right-click, select all instances visible in view, and now there are 12 rather than 8. So there's an additional 1 here, 1 on the other side, and then 2 more on the top. Okay, that is creating strapping for MEP clash holes in top and bottom tracks. Next, we'll look at creating opening, strapping, and blocking. Here in my floor plan, I'm going to be working with this exterior wall. I do have a 3D view prepared for it. Now, to frame this wall, I used a marker manager for the windows and doors, or a marker, I should say. And I'm going to go into Marker Manager, Opening, Single. And the marker type that I applied was the default wood-bearing beam top of window. I'm going to modify a marker type so that it also includes strapping and blocking. We strongly encourage you not to modify delivered marker types. Instead, I'm going to copy this one. I'll append strapping and blocking and remove default. So that new marker type is created. I'll double click on that. And you can see that this is a copy of the marker type that I used to frame my openings. What's new is in the lower right-hand corner, there's a checkbox for place opening straps. I'll check that on. For the strap, again, I need to choose the family. I'm going to select the CS14 gauge. The blocking, this is a 2x6 wall, so I'm going to choose a 2x6 member. For the strap, we have the start and the end. And this 1 foot is going to extend 1 foot past the opening. Now, what I'm going to do for the start, rather than using a length, I'm going to specify panel end. So it's going to extend the strapping to the end of the panel, regardless of how far the opening is away from the end of the panel. The placement, we can place straps and blocking on both sides, on the exterior of the wall only, or the interior only. I'm going to leave it set to default. You can specify a vertical offset from both the header and the sill. In the lower right-hand corner, we have an area for connectors. Screws I currently have set to be invisible. We can specify an offset and a spacing, and I'll leave those as a default, but we can count those screws later on if we want to. I'll click OK. Close this dialog box. Now I'll simply select this opening. Go to Markers, Apply Opening Type. And I'm going to select the one that I just created. Now I'll select a panel member and regenerate this wall. And because I applied the new marker type to that window, we should see strapping and blocking around it. Okay, you can see the 2x6 blocking. Here's the strap. Now this is the beginning of my panels over here. So this is the side that's being extended. This is being set to 1 foot on this side for the strapping. If I select this window and move it 2 feet, and again regenerate the wall, you'll see that the strap to the right of the window stays 1 foot because I've specified that length. On the left, the strap is going to get longer because it's still extending over to the end of the panel. And there's corresponding blocking with that. Okay, that is creating opening, strapping, and blocking. Next, I'll cover creating lifting holes with clips. And I'm going to be using this wall right here. And I do have a view set up for this. You can see at the top of the panel, there are no lifting holes or clips presently. I'm going to select one of these members. And I'm going to go into the properties. I'll expand this dialog box. Under the miscellaneous tab, we now have an item for lifting holes. I'm going to be using a style called Style A. I'll click Edit. And here's where we can specify our lifting holes. I'm going to select Same at both ends, or I could toggle that off. If I toggle it off, I can do something like a user selected bay. Maybe I want to start with bay 2, and then maybe I want to end at bay 9. Instead, I'm going to go use both the same at both ends. I'm going to go with the start bay, and on the end tab, it will default to the end bay. So that's correct. That's what I want. For the clip placement, we can place them on both sides, or the interior only, or the exterior only. I'm going to leave both selected. I'll click Close. Click OK. Now the panel is being regenerated. When it comes back in, you'll see that here are the lifting holes on both ends. And if I scroll in, pan around a little bit, you'll see that the clips are also there. So that is creating lifting holes with clips. Next, we have generating shop drawing labels. For this portion, I'm going to work with this panel right here. And I do have a view set up for this already. So here's my panel. And again, first I'm going to show how MWF has worked to this point, and then I'll show you the new feature. So I'm going to open the project browser. And I just want to show you that under Sheets, there's only a single sheet, which is the cover sheet. I'll select a panel member. I'll go to Shop Drawings. And here I have an 11 by 17 landscape set up. I'll click Generate. I now have a new sheet, and it's a framing shop drawing. Now I'll go to Drawings Manager. I'm going to select that 11 by 17 landscape. I'll click Edit. And the setting that we're interested in is Generate Panel Labels. I'm going to check that on, and then I'll click the setting one for the shipping dates. I have both of those set to a 1/4 inch aerial. I'm not using elevation view template. The elevation view orientation, I'm going to be looking at the interior of the panel. Detail level I've set to fine. I've set the scale to 3/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. Visual style I've set to hidden line. I've specified a shipping date. That can be whatever you want it to be. And then there's a company logo option. If I click Browse, you can choose your company logo. I'm going to use the Struxoff one. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Your mileage may vary on that. You may need to rotate it or perhaps not. It all depends on your logo. I'll click OK. Save this. And then I'll regenerate the shop drawing. Again, I have my framing shop drawing. Okay, now here I have a little problem. This was because I miskeyed something in earlier. So let me close this file quickly, then reopen it. And hopefully that will solve the issue. I apologize. I'm going to have to close Revit quickly. And reopen the file. This was actually my fault. If you heard a sort of a chime earlier, I miskeyed in a command, and that's affecting this process for some reason. I apologize. We'll go to MWF and switch to our wall module. And I'll generate the shop drawings again. Hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, I can restore a previous version of the file and go from there, but hopefully this will work. And yes, you can see it did. So here for our label, you can see that I have the logo that I specified. It's pulling some information from the project information, the name of the project and the address. Here's the panel name. Here's the shipping date that I specified. There's a date timestamp here at the bottom. There are also the overall dimensions. These are the two text note types that I specified. Of course, my elevation view. And then over to the right, we have a barcode. Now, if you scan this barcode, it will read the panel name. Okay, that is generating shop drawing labels. And again, I apologize for the problem there. Next, we'll take a look at regenerating floor hole series without regenerating panels. Let me open up my floor plan again. And for this, I'm going to be working over in this area of the model. And you can see that I have a couple of marker lines, and I have some holes being punched through the floor joists. I actually have two floors here. If I select one of the floors, you can see where the joint is. Same thing over here. Now, let's say I come in after the fact, and what I want to do is a couple of things. I want to move the marker lines, and I want to change the diameter of the holes. So I'm simply going to grab these marker lines, and I'm going to move them 3 inches. I'll grab just one of the marker lines, and I'll move it 1 inch so they're closer together. Now I'll switch to the floor module of MWF. I'll select the marker lines, and I'm going to go to Properties. Here's where I'll be able to change the diameter of those holes. Presently, they're 2 3/4. I'm going to change them to 4 5/8. I'll click OK. Now, at this point, being experienced MWF users, what we'll probably do is select panels or members from both of those panels, go back up here, and regenerate. And I partially got what I wanted. The holes did get larger, they did move, but I lost some members here. Some members also that were extended are no longer extended. So let me undo this. That's what it looked like before. And if I redo, that's what it looks like now. The problem is that manual edits were made to these panel members. Some of the members were extended and some of the members were copied. So the new feature we've added is if I select the marker lines, I can go to Tools, Regenerate Hole Series. Oh, sorry. I have to select the members. Apologies for that. Tools, Regenerate Hole Series. Now I have the holes that I wanted. They've been moved. They're a little closer together. They're larger, but none of my panel members have been otherwise modified. So that is regenerating floor hole series without regenerating panels. Lastly, I'm going to introduce our new online help center. For this, I'll go to my internet browser. And this is our new online help center. I'll highlight several of the features here. Scroll down a little bit. And the first one I'm going to touch on is online documentation. So previously, you would go under MWF to access our documentation. For instance, MWF wall manual is here, MWF floor manual is here. If I select that, a PDF is opened that you can either browse or search. And that is our old documentation. Now what we have here online as part of our online help center is we have the our online documentation right here. So if I go to, for instance, MWF floor features, and maybe I'm interested in merging panels, then I can read about that online right here. We can also, of course, search. So if I search for whole series, and I choose whole series and floor panels, then I can read about some of the things that I did with the floor panel in the previous demonstration. We also have FAQs. I can access it here, or I can scroll down and click on it here. And these are some FAQs that we prepared so far. An interesting one that I spotted is, how do I customize my help center? So if I click on that, you can read about how to do that right here. And there's actually a link that explains that. We also have best practices. This is going to be under general. And these are best practices in Revit for a more efficient MWF project. So things that you should do in Revit that will help you out with MWF. Things like not purging your Revit model, because a lot of the settings that are loaded through the load data command in MWF will be lost. So there are examples of that sort of thing in here. If I click on general, you'll probably be able to see, it's not there, but it is in here. I saw it earlier. Okay. Okay, so those are best practices. We also have a community option here. And through the community, you can do a couple of things. You can join general discussions. So these are some posts that we have here. You can actually create a new post, give it a title, details, and then submit it to the general discussion forum. You can also go to a discussion and you can leave comments. Also, in the community, you can go to feature requests. And we now do have a way for you to submit feature requests directly. And to do that, you simply click on New Post, give it a title, fill in the details, and submit. And that feature request will be posted. It'll also be placed into our system for review. So that's a brief overview of our new online help center. One of the things that will enable us to do is to update our documentation more quickly and more efficiently. So you'll be seeing some benefits from that. That's all the technical material for today. Again, we covered creating strapping for MEP clash holes in top and bottom tracks, creating opening strapping and blocking, creating lifting holes with clips, generating shop drawing labels, regenerating floor hole series without regenerating panels, and lastly, I introduced our new online help center. As I mentioned previously, more webinars will be scheduled at later dates to cover additional features in our latest release. Thank you to everyone who registered for and/or attended the webinar. Any questions that went unanswered through the GoToMeeting dashboard will be answered offline as soon as possible. Also, as I previously mentioned, the recording will be sent to registrants shortly after the session has ended. Please feel free to share the recording with colleagues. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us via email. Our general email address is info@struxoftsolutions.com. Also, our account manager's email address will be included in the email that will be sent to registrants. Thank you for your time today and for allowing us the opportunity to serve you. This concludes today's session.